everybody. I'm Owen Shocker. Hope everyone's having a good day. I would like to welcome you to my presentation over Azure DevOps. I really want to cover the basics of DevOps, all the services that Azure DevOps can provide, and how they can help a company or an organization or just an individual coder. A little bit of my background. I'm from Council Bluffs. I graduated in 2021 at Iowa State University. When I was at Iowa State, I worked for Maverick Software Consulting and did that for like a year and a half, and I was a QA, not really like an engineer, I was just kind of a QA developer, and was making sure that Thomson Reuters applications were running well. And anyways, came out of that with .NET experience, and then joined Sageti and Capgemini. And in the beginning, I started out as an Azure .NET engineer, and basically we had so many .NET applications running in the cloud, and I had no experience with the cloud at all, and was able to learn about the the DevOps methodology, and be able to apply it. And anyways, I did that for about 8 months, and now I'm working as a Java developer, so a little bit different. Still, there's 1,000 ways to cut a pig, or whatever the saying is, I don't know. But anyways, enough about me. I would like to teach you a little bit about DevOps. So, here's a quick overview of our presentation today. I would like to introduce you to Azure DevOps, talk about what DevOps actually is, and talk about the services and pricing for Azure DevOps. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that we have a pretty intimate space here. It's not super wide open, not too many people here. So if you want to have a conversation about everything, speak up and get in on it, ask questions. Like I said, I only had like 8 months of experience with this stuff, so I'm not really an expert, I would say. But I'm definitely like intermediate level of using Azure DevOps. So. All right, who here has used Azure DevOps? Okay, so a lot of people are familiar with it. Great. Well, hopefully I don't embarrass myself with all the information that I say. All right. Azure DevOps is a Microsoft platform meant to enable smarter, faster, and more collaborative software development. The main services that Azure DevOps offers include Azure repos, boards, pipelines, test plans, and artifacts. Once you establish a project in Azure DevOps, you're presented with this sleek and simple interface to do all the work that you might want in terms of developing software. Before we cover the services Azure provides for DevOps, I would like you guys to understand a bit more about DevOps in general. Does anybody work within a company right now that uses the DevOps methodology? So less, interesting, less than the amount of people who actually use DevOps, or Azure DevOps, interesting. DevOps is a methodology in the software development and IT industry. It uses a set of practices and tools. DevOps integrates and automates the work of software development and IT operations. This is a means for improving and shortening the software development lifecycle, or the system development lifecycle. DevOps is a mindset and a culture shift that can be very difficult for a company who, has a huge IT infrastructure, and, switching on a dime like that, especially when they've proven success over and over again in a certain way, can be very, very difficult to accomplish. Especially like, somebody like me who's not necessarily even an architect, or somebody above them like chief technology officer, trying to do it from the ground up, even more difficult. The 5 key principles of DevOps to accomplish this are collaboration, automation, continuous improvement, customer-centric action, and creating with the end in mind. So 2 of these specifically are a little more general, like customer-centric action and creating with the end in mind, but I hope that I can get you to understand them a bit clearer. Collaboration, as it's come to be known to me, is the most important principle of DevOps. Collaboration is to come together as a single team to address any problem within a program which hinders the program. Doing this while keeping customer focus in mind and solve issues by owning them as your own, without playing a blame game and doing it as quick as possible. That's, to me, what being on a team really is. You know, if you're playing basketball and you want to win, it doesn't really matter who did what when. You know, it's all about coming together and making sure that we accomplish the goal that's really necessary. Sometimes determining what's necessary is a little difficult, but development and operations teams in this way can coalesce into a functional team that communicates, shares feedback, and collaborates through the entire development and deployment cycle. Often this means that development and operation teams merge into a single team that works across the entire application lifecycle. So that was very interesting to me when it came to my first contract and working as an Azure .NET engineer, was how responsible we really were. It felt like real engineering, you know. When it comes to engineering, you know, you come up with a problem, brainstorm, or come up with a problem, all the requirements for it, brainstorm solutions, and then you get your team to bring it to life, you know. And that's really what the collaboration of DevOps is like. It's kind of capturing that true engineering spirit. Automation is an essential practice of DevOps. It is to automate as much of the software development cycle as possible. This gives developers more time to write code and develop new features. Automation helps to reduce human error and increase team productivity. With automated processes, teams achieve continuous improvement with short iterations, which allows them to quickly respond to customer feedback. This is very in line with an agile mentality around creating software, and continuous improvement is as well. Continuous improvement is the practice of focusing on experimentation, minimizing waste, and optimizing for speed, cost, and ease of delivery. Continuous improvement is also tied to continuous delivery, allowing DevOps teams to continuously push updates that improve the efficiency of software systems. This was very fun for me when it came to being an Azure DevOps engineer. You know, my team and I could really stretch each other's minds and explore when it came to developing our own solutions for problems. You know, instead of being a developer and you get told what this is the work that is going to be done, do the work. You know, it's more about thinking outside the box, being creative. Customer-centric action. DevOps teams use short feedback loops with customers and end users to develop products and services centered around user needs. DevOps practices enable rapid collection and response to user feedback through use of real-time live monitoring and rapid deployment. Teams get immediate visibility into how live users interact with a software system and use the insights to develop further improvements. This definition really reminds me of the like skateboard to car model that Agile pushes, you know, and having a using customer-centric action, you can keep your ear to the ground when it comes to what's actually going on with your software, rather than trying to look at what you think the software is and then what's happening and try to mesh those two pieces together. Creating with the end in mind is a principle that involves understanding the needs of customers and creating products or services that solve real problems. Teams shouldn't build in a bubble or create software based on assumptions, but about how customers will use the software. Rather, DevOps teams should have a holistic understanding of the product from creation to implementation. Now, how exactly does all of this help development? I know I explained some things, but there's even more that is useful about this. So there are three primary categories of benefits for DevOps. There's technical benefits, cultural benefits, and business benefits. So the technical benefits include reduced complexity, continuous delivery, and faster problem solving. Faster problem resolution. DevOps practitioners typically deploy higher quality code faster than the traditional siloed teams. The cultural benefits are more productive and efficient teams and happier customers. On the business end, the benefits include greater collaboration and trust between team members, which results in faster delivery and stable operating environments. I can speak on this with firsthand experience. With my team, we felt responsible for everything because we technically were responsible for everything. It created camaraderie because of all of the discussions that we were able to have and all of the ideas we were able to come up with together. You know, we really trusted, respected, and valued each other as engineers rather than just coworkers who happen to do the same thing, right? The members of a DevOps team are responsible for ensuring quality deliverables across each facet of the product. This leads to more full-stack development, as I've mentioned earlier, where teams own the complete back-end to front-end responsibilities of a feature or product. Teams will own a feature or product through the complete life cycle from idea all the way to delivery. This enhanced level of investment and attachment from the team leads to higher quality output. Now, let's move on to the services that Azure DevOps offers to hopefully take advantage of these benefits. Azure Boards is a web-based service that enables teams to plan, track, and discuss work across the entire development process. From Boards, you gain access to agile tools to support planning and tracking work. This tool can be adapted to fit your team's development methodologies, either basic default. I'm not totally sure exactly what that methodology is. I do know that it seems to be one that kind of the people who developed the Agile DevOps platform came up with themselves. Agile, Scrum, and CMMI. Additionally, it can be changed to scale up as well, depending on how many teams you have, how many projects you have going on, how many organizations you even have. It's virtually infinitely scalable. Probably just depends on how much money you have, I guess. With this tool, you gain the advantage of full integration with the Azure DevOps platform. Azure DevOps is designed to provide end-to-end traceability, tracking work from requirements all the way to deployment. You'll be able to gain insight at each step of decision-making and software development. Some of the traceability tasks that are supported include creating a branch from a requirement, fully traceable through the software, creating a pull request of updated branch, validating a pull request using a build pipeline, and creating and running inline tests on requirements. So it's not that these tasks are available to be done, and that's true, but they're also traceable through this Boards platform or service. With Azure Boards, you can plan, execute, and monitor the system development of all your teams. Work items are just what they sound like. I'm sure everybody in development is familiar with what a work item is. It's, simple, what work is supposed to be done, what features are available. Work items track features and requirements you're developing, code defects or bugs, and issues or risks to your project. The work item type available to you differs on the process used when you created your project, like Agile, Basic, Scrum, CMMI. Above is an example of a work item type when you select the Agile Scrum process. Now we're going to take a look at boards and sprints. I grouped these together because of how similar they are. They are used differently, but they're very similar. Boards allows you to view work items as cards and update their status by work stage through drag and drop. Similar to physical sticky notes on a whiteboard, you can use this feature to implement Kanban practices and visualize workflow for a team. It's pretty stretched out up there. It provides visual space for planning, showing progress, and analyzing bottlenecks. Analyzing bottlenecks is very interesting to me. I think that especially in big companies, especially ones that aren't using the DevOps methodology, bottlenecks can be numerous and large and very difficult to identify or very difficult to do anything about. So that's a very useful tool that I appreciate. Sprints it's a lot like boards, and it allows you to assign work to a sprint using drag and drop from the backlog and assess your team's filtered view of work items based on a specific sprint or iteration path. So now all this dragging and dropping from a backlog brings up a new point, right? What is a backlog? So in terms of Azure DevOps, with backlogs, your teams can view, plan, order, and organize work items, including using a product backlog to represent your project plan, and a portfolio backlog to group work under features and epics. The image on the left here shows the epic feature story breakdown of the backlog and gives helpful information automatically as to their states. The image on the right shows backlog's capability of displaying velocity sprint over sprint. And you probably can't read it very well, but you can also analyze the different paths that the points took in the sprint, like what you dropped from the sprint, which usually isn't recommended. Maybe what you had to pull into the sprint, if you had to pull stuff in and you actually overshot your story point goal for the sprint, you know. Very handy, very useful. Now that we know Azure DevOps can help teams log their work, but how can it help with planning for delivery? Delivery plans. This service allows management teams to view deliverables and track dependencies across multiple teams in a calendar view. Delivery plans support tasks such as viewing up to 15 team backlogs, custom portfolio backlogs and epics, and work that spans several iterations. Users can add backlog items to a plan, view roll-up progress of features and epics, and dependencies between work items. Here is an example of a feature roadmap created with delivery plans. Using a tool like this will encourage collaboration and continuous improvement throughout your development lifecycle. Sorry about that. My mouth was getting dry. Azure Repos offers unlimited cloud hosting private Git repos for your project. Very similar to the same way that GitHub would. Azure supports two types of source control, Git or Team Foundation version control. Here's an example of what you would see clicking on the Repos tab in Azure DevOps. From Azure Repos for Git, you can do the following tasks. You can review, download, and edit files, and review the change history for a file. Review and manage commits that have been pushed. Add and manage Git tags. Review, create, approve, comment on, and complete pull requests. Protect code quality with branch policies, along with automating with built-in CI/CD. So how do these capabilities translate to DevOps exactly? CI/CD sounds familiar as automation goes, and code review is a time for team members to help other developers learn the code base. Either the code base, new technologies, maybe new techniques. Usually the techniques are defined by your organization or state-of-the-art standards, and but this time can be a really good channel for debate and ideation for new standards and processes that your team wants to take on. Maybe even present to the organization above you, I suppose. In the photo above, you can see team members offering alteration suggestions, debating, and creating links to past work items using Azure Repos. That is very, very hard to read. Believe me, they're arguing. By participating in code review, almost all DevOps metrics can be improved for your development lifecycle, like collaboration, automation, continuous improvement, and creating with the end in mind. This is probably my favorite time of being a part of DevOps. You know, I still do code reviews. There's not the same amount of expectations, I would suppose. There was a very specific format that we followed in terms of using Azure DevOps, and I learned a lot from my teammates. You know, they'll surprise you every single time in a code review, and you'll learn something. What else does Azure Repos offer to improve your organization? You can protect your code quality with branch policies. Keep code quality high by requiring code reviewer sign-off, successful builds, and passing tests before pull requests can be merged. Customize your branch policies to maintain your team's high standards. So this is where you can accomplish the CI, a part of CI/CD, with continuous integration, and also be able to trust the work that is being done and brought into your branches. In this example, don't know how legible it is, but it is a branch that has not been able to be merged. The rules that this organization has set up for this specific merging, one of the rules was violated where it wasn't able to pass tests. But here you can see that a release branch approver with a specific name was necessary to actually bring this code into the branch, along with the a build being necessary. So with quality standards implemented via branch policies, organizations can improve automation, customer-centric action, and be able to create with the end in mind. Once all of your code has been reviewed and passed all branch policies, Azure Repos can be used to handle all CI/CD. Azure Repos enables the setup of continuous integration, continuous delivery to automatically trigger builds, tests, and deployments with every completed pull request using Azure pipelines or your tool of choice. So now that we've mentioned how pipelines look from the perspective of repos, now we can move towards Azure Repos and get a better idea as to what they do specifically for us. So with Azure pipelines, you can continuously build, test, and deploy to any platform or cloud with Azure pipelines. Azure Pipeline supports all major languages and project types and combines continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous testing. This is done to build, test, and deliver your code to any destination. The three defining parts of Azure Pipelines are the pipelines themselves, environments, and the library, all of which are displayed together here in the drop-down for Azure Pipelines. What are pipelines and how do they work? Azure Pipelines were created to enable users to create their own CI/CD pipelines for any language targeting any platform. The essential parts of an Azure pipeline include a trigger that tells a pipeline to run, which you can also make the trigger just manual where you hit the pipeline to go on your own. A pipeline which is made up of one or more stages and can deploy to one or more environments. Now, a stage organizes jobs in a pipeline, and each stage can have one or more jobs. These jobs can deploy applications, publish artifacts, run tests, or really anything that your command line is capable of. Through this pipelines tool, you'll be able to manage your releases with the following capabilities. Users can configure release pipelines that represent your environments from development to production. So if there's certain configuration that needs to be done, or maybe certain, whatever process is different between them all, you can make sure that you have automated ways for each of them. Run automation to deploy your app to each environment. Add approvers to confirm that the app has been successfully deployed in an environment. Create your release manually or automatically from a build. Also, you can track your releases as they're deployed to various environments. So, like this screen grab shows, Azure Pipelines provides a simple visual representation for each of your executing pipelines and the stages that make them up. So your team can know exactly when and where a process went wrong, or maybe its duration, or whether or not it all went right. When a pipeline requires configuration or secret details, the library can be used to include secure files and variable groups. Secure files are a way to store files and share them across pipelines. Variable groups store values and secrets that you might want to pass into a YAML pipeline or make available across multiple pipelines. Now that we're familiar with pipelines, what exactly is an environment? This, as a development professional, I'm sure you've heard this term often, but this is a way for Azure specifically, or Azure DevOps specifically, to create a collection of resources where you deploy your application. And this could be one or more virtual machines, containers, web apps, or any other service that's used to host the application being developed. Typical examples of these environment names, and I'm sure most of you heard them before: dev, QA, staging, prod, production, pre-prod, and everything like that. So by deploying to Azure environments, the history of your deployments will be recorded. Like the pipeline used, the run details that it produced, traceability of its deployed commits and work items, diagnostic resource health, and security options to limit which users and pipelines target which environments. So with it, you'll be able to know exactly when, what, everything that happened throughout the pipeline. Azure Artifacts supports the creation and sharing of Maven, NPM, NuGet, and Python packages from public and private sources. Artifacts are fully integrated into Azure pipelines to enable CI/CD. Creating new artifacts allows for versioning and protecting of your packages. You'll be able to keep every public source package you use safe. Ones that have taken somebody maybe years and years to develop, and if for some reason it were to go offline and you don't have access to it anymore, well, with the enterprise-grade Azure SLA, you'll be able to make sure that it never is deleted. Now, what options does Azure DevOps offer for testing? That's where Azure Test Plans comes in. Test Plans supports creating and managing the necessary tests for your development needs. Additionally, with the integrated test runner, your tests can be executed on any platform. What testing does Azure Test Plans support? There are two main groups. As you can see, automated testing, manual and exploratory testing as well. Well, automated testing is accomplished by the fact of the Azure Test Plans being fully integrated with Azure pipelines. This is done to support testing with continuous integration, continuous deployment as well. Test plans and test cases can be associated with build or release pipelines. Pipeline tasks can be added to a pipeline's definition to capture and publish test results. Test results can be reviewed via built-in progress reports and pipeline test reports, which we will see on the next slide. The exploratory and manual testing that Azure supports, or Azure DevOps supports, is planned manual testing, user acceptance, exploratory, and stakeholder feedback. So here are some of those graphics and data points that I mentioned in the previous slide. With these test features, you gain access to the following: end-to-end traceability from requirements to test cases, and bugs with requirement-based test suites. Criteria-based test selection with query-based test suites. An Excel-like interface with the grid for easy creation of test cases. Reusable test steps and test data with shared steps and shared parameters. Shareable test plans, test suites, and test cases for reviewing with stakeholders. charts for tracking test activity, as seen above, where you can gather insights into just about any sort of test-related data that you could need, whether it's over time, in real time, pass-fail rates, how long it took for your test to execute. There are vast numbers of data points that are available with this tool. Those are the general services that make up Azure DevOps. Now, what is all this going to cost you? So Azure DevOps offers many pricing options. They not only can you get it for free, you could get it for multiple people and it could cost money. You could also package it using Visual Studio. They have offers for that. Or if you have a business and maybe you're not happy with the price and you have a lot of people to give this software to, you could work a licensing deal out with them. These offers range from one service to all the services, free and to $52 per user per month. That's not including the like individual business licensing that they might offer. Here are all the Azure DevOps offers. There are individual services, user licenses. In terms of individual services, it starts out free, which is really, really great for somebody working on a personal project. You're granted a limited number of minutes per month for CI/CD self-hosted, or sorry, not self-hosted, but cloud-hosted pipelines. It can also utilize your machine to run these pipelines, and that's unlimited to use with the service. So you have to pay a little bit of extra money a month if you want to get more than that. And with Azure Artifacts, you're limited to a certain number of, I think GIB is gigabyte? Scott?
Yeah, one of the things I want to clarify for this is this is Azure's like rack rate environment. This is when you're with a company, you probably have an enterprise agreement and such. So pricing is like this. There's components associated with it. One of the key things that I've learned through the years of people when they talk about how we work with DevOps, how we work with the cloud, and such is, and I'll just say this: I don't completely believe that Azure, Microsoft is really open to all the ways you can save money at doing this. All right, so if you're not aware of the term reserves, figure that out. If you know you're going to use a certain amount, if you know that and you forecast that, you can buy pricing models that accommodate that. So again, this isn't something that Capgemini sells. This is just what we've learned when a client says, our DevOps has gone sky high, our cloud costs or spend has gone spiraling out of control, and it's like, okay, let's take a look and see how you're doing it, what you're not doing. And those are some of the things that Cap can come in and help with, is manage and optimize one, licensing, contracting. Enterprise agreement with Microsoft addresses a lot of this pricing environment. So, and probably very few people in this room is a stakeholder on cost, okay? Was no problem whatsoever, spend more than you ever can. Guess what? Somebody's going to tell you about it sooner or later. But if there's real questions on how you can optimize, feel free to ask. But these are the models that they have, and it's like the poster on the door of the hotel room. I've never paid that amount for that room, but if you don't say anything to Azure, that is what you'll pay for it. So be aware. So there's a lot of ways to, I think the term is skin that cat.
Yeah. You're right about that. So outside of the individual services that a package could offer, there are the user licenses, and you can either get a plan with just a basic plan, which includes 4 of the services, or the basic plan plus test plans. That'll include everything that we've talked about today. I've personally used the basic plan on my own time, on my own private projects. Honestly, so handy. You don't have to use like 10 different tools to make all this stuff happen or pay anything, you know. The first 5 users are free, and then it's $6 a month per user after that. Also, the pricing limitations that I mentioned still apply. And then if you are looking to get the test plans offer, you will be spending about $52 per month per user. And also what Scott says still applies, where you can get some licensing deals for, you know, a big organization, or if you have forecasting. And that just about brings us to the end here, everybody. Azure DevOps is your one-stop shop to implement DevOps into your organization today. You'll be able to start making software better and faster. And I can almost guarantee it, but don't quote me on that. So thank you, everybody. Does anybody have any questions for me? Or sorry for droning on there for a while, but there was definitely some information that you need to get out there, so. All right. Yeah.
If you're starting out, is getting like the Azure certifications helpful, or did you just dive straight into it?
So that's a really good question. I was lucky enough to kind of have a group around me to kind of nurture me in the whole Azure DevOps, Azure environment. But when it comes to DevOps specifically, it's really so simple to use as long as you understand the methodologies that I mentioned, like CI/CD and DevOps, also like code review and everything like that. But no, I would say because it's available to deploy to any platform, that it's really not necessary to understand all of the Azure offerings that they have. You know, this is one segment, and it's compatible with there's a lot of integration even with GitHub. Like if you have existing CI/CD in GitHub, you have existing repos there, there's a lot of very easy to deal with integration with GitHub specifically too. So I would say no, it's not necessary.
I'll throw this into that. My environment is more AWS environment than Azure. If that's something I use and I work with every day or have had projects, I would spend the time on the search just for the resume.
Definitely.
If nothing else. Because there'll be a day, whether it's internal or external, that somebody will say, you know, does Scott have, you know, does he really have experience with this? And I think if you work with an organization that helps you in any way, shape, or form with certs, get as many as what you can. We're lucky at break their budget. What's that?
I said break their budget.
Break their budget. We're really, at Capgemini, we're really fortunate that there's such internal resources that we have available, and you get the certification, but also just the educational amount that if I ever step foot on another university campus again, you know, they would pay for it, but it probably isn't going to happen for me. But I just think from a resume standpoint, it really is good. But nothing, as what Owen says, nothing's better than the hands-on stuff. It just proves you know what you know.
Definitely.
And gosh, you might learn something, you know. I've got a question for you. I don't remember your name. Stan. Remember earlier we talked about the DevOps model and stuff, and you were one that's what you live that day in and day out. I mean, in the real world, how relative was that statement? I mean, early on. I mean, is the culture is everybody on board with the way that you approach your business, or is there flexibilities? And I'm just curious from your perspective.
The team I'm on is probably average age is 52.
Okay.
So there's some resistance because of the age.
Yeah.
And our sister team, their probably average age is 24.
Oh.
They're all on board with it. We still got some, mostly developers fighting that going this. We can change it. We're using Parasol now, SAP before that, TFS before that. Anyway, so we're using full blown, you know, this year, and we're using Parasol with it, so we're on mission with 80. So it's getting there. We got, our managers are all in on it, so these are three above us, so they're pushing it, and they have to push it again, because they're quite a lot. But yeah, I'm doing it every day. I'm going through the whole automation right now. We're in the pipeline and stuff now. So yeah, it's like you're saying, as long as you understand the epic feature, story, path, you know, all that structure, the CI/CD. Yeah, it's sense. I mean, you don't just start doing it. I mean, it's like you said, if you start using it, then you know that that's the format of the template, and it gets easier each day, and velocity gets a lot faster. You know, you want to learn more. Like you said, the collaboration within our teams, we probably got 30 on our system test engineers, and you know, we all try and share. I write documents, which are ridiculous because they're way beyond what you need. But it's like I can hand it to somebody that's never even done it, and we should be able to do it if we got access, whether they're in the database or in our Java app, you know, whatever they need, it's right there. As long as they got access to it, we can follow the stuff. Some people don't go that crazy. I've always done it because I've contracted for years. I'm in the IT since '76 anyway. And so I write them for myself, so when I go back, so I can get right up to speed. Well, I use them to share with people too, and then they can use them, and you know, we can put them out in video, share them through the file system, and they can go out and look and search it. Yeah, it's been really helpful. Collaboration is number one.
I always like to know what real world feels like, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Owen and I share an office together, and you know, the idea that a 64-year-old guy can sit there and listen to a 24-year-old guy and actually learn something, you know, and I appreciate that. It's pretty dynamic, and that's what I ask about what it feels like, you know, really at work. Something was asked early about, you know, AI and such. Should we have the opportunity to host another one of these groups? What kind of things about AI would you like to know about?
Details of large language models.
That would be good.
Details of large language models.
GPT 3 and 4.
Okay.
So like, what do you mean? Like,
Like, how does it work?
how's it thinking, or how is it
what I'm
processing?
in normal English and actually give me a
Okay.
response that it may have made up, or it may actually found something.
So from a chatbot kind of environment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna really help you.
Okay. I'm going to throw this out, that probably in the world of business, the chatbot is not going to be what is going to be. I saw a great analogy of the expert, right? And the chatbot was above the water. It was everything underneath it. But
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to start. I asked. We certainly can do that. But I think if this is the industry you're going to be in for a while, you're not on the cutting edge of it, because AI's been around a long time. It's the generative environment is what is being realized today. And so how that's used in business, you know, somebody's going to come to you one day and say, you know, and I'm just going to make this instance is we've got these legacy applications here. By the way, we've got to move them. You know what? We're not going to have this. In the financial world, there's still mainframes out there. There's still a lot of it, okay? And there isn't going to be, okay? And those are going to be cloud-based. It's just is, all right? AI can do that today, all right? So that's a real one. I was having a conversation earlier this week with a company, and it's like, you mean it can be done? I said, yeah, and the testing behind it, and we're doing that.
Is that like the IBM converting COBOL?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what
Ish.
we're doing.
Ish, yeah.
We're going
yes.
over to the
And-
Java.
Yes, and so also the idea behind true generative AI is really recognizing, because you've all picked up the phone and have had predictive AI from it, okay? But the idea of really moving you to a place. One of the big applications that are real worlds today is, and tell me this isn't a pain in the butt. Every October, you got open enrollment, and you got 95 new kinds of way to adjust your medical insurance from the company that you work for, and they leave it to you to make that decision, okay? And there's nobody on the planet to talk to about it. Am I making the right decision? Okay. That is, those type of engagements there are places where the generative AI, from how we are going to use it from day to day, okay? Again, we get to see corporations that are developing incredible simulations and such that are envision this. You want to recreate something that's happened that's been catastrophic. You don't want to kill people to try to figure out what went wrong to do it again, okay? So there are these simulations that are built today that figure out what went wrong. And those are places that this is going to go on and happen in development in there. Day in and day out, like here, when we've got to figure out where's the best money, the best rate, where to get the money and such, that is where that stuff is going to go. So if that is something that you want to have a discussion on, or anything, it isn't that we are pushing AI at all. It is everybody's asking about it. The other thing that is being discussed is, you know, the governance and such about how it's being used. There was a term that was used a few years ago when cloud became prevalent, is, you know, shadow IT, right? What we're finding out is there are people in companies that are running AI programs, applications, unbeknownst to their corporation, on company equipment, right? Don't raise your hands. All right. But, you know, managing that in the, did you have some, you were admitting to it? Oh.
Well, I don't understand for that. They
But
were having their code through ChatGPT to analyze it.
It just, yeah, but we're in a place right now that the governance is something important to companies and to yourselves. So make sure you know what your company's saying, all right? Just make sure you know it. And don't be the one caught, okay? Because it's going to be just like back in the day. If I had something inappropriate on my company equipment, you're going to be gone too. it's just, there's so many layers of what can be discussed about it. So whatever you're interested in, we could bring some really smart people to talk about it. But I want to make sure that we walk away from here that you guys have ideas of what you want to talk about and what would be interesting. Because bring that to the table, and we'd be more than happy to do that. Because again, I'm still fascinated by the idea that how we integrate what we do in Formula One racing. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, just take a look at a steering wheel on a Formula One race car, all right? And the idea that you can take air out of that right rear tire as you're going 200 miles an hour and adjust the camber of the car, and it's amazing to me. Okay, so with that,
I got an DevOps question.
Yeah.
Right. So
Okay.
for Owen or for anyone that is using Azure DevOps, my question is, are there any features that you find missing or lacking in Azure DevOps? I'll start. The wiki. I tried using the wiki, and I'm new to ADO, and I just found it kind of lousy. So I'm back at using Confluence instead.
That's an interesting question. I don't have anything to compare it to. I never used AWS or maybe another cloud platform. I'll say that my favorite part was for sure the code review. It's not really new or anything, but I really like the way that they implemented that. So I would say one of the most confusing parts to me, granted I was a part of a big organization, was looking at the boards. How do I flip through these boards to find the right board? Is my sprint in the board section ever? Like, I don't know if it's ever there, you know. The board section was very confusing and complicated to me. I don't know if that was because of the way that my organization was, organizing it, or if it was something to do with the Azure platform, but that was very confusing. Yeah.
If you like code reviews, I recommend looking at Crucible and Fisheye.
So there's a way to do reports in Azure DevOps as well. Have you any experience doing those? Because when we try to generate a report to build a dashboard for that report, in some of our reports, they're even canned reports, like show us what was put out in the last 30 days and what's still in progress. And I'm having an issue with trying to get that report to show up on a dashboard.
Okay.
The experience there.
I'm going to actually pull up Azure right now. Yeah, so this is just like, I just made this so I could take some screenshots for the presentation, but so there's a section that I did not cover. It was mainly because once you get to use it, I don't know. I didn't think it was really worth covering, but you bring up a good question to cover it. This queries section, you can,
Yeah, it is in queries, but there's another one under boards specifically where you can build reports.
like analytics view?
Yeah, the analytics
Okay.
field, yeah. So they've got what I would say canned reports with the analytics view, and you can create them. Yeah, here you go, shared views, buds, last 26 weeks. And there's one that we modified to try to generate from there and then put out. And what I read, and I don't know if this is true or not, is the best way to generate those reports is through Power BI. But I'm trying to find a way if we can get it up on a board to do
So when I was using Azure DevOps, I wasn't a part of this side of things. I was more on the CI/CD development part of things. So I don't have much experience with it, but what I can tell you is that, to my knowledge, this is powered by Power BI. So if that's what you're looking for, I would say it's probably a good tool. Now you're looking to put it on a dashboard, right?
That's what I thought you could do, but because it's under the analytics, but I didn't have any luck with that. And I tried to make it viewable, didn't have any luck with that either.
Has anybody been able to create a new dashboard, or I think they're like widgets basically that you put on the dashboard. Has anybody been able to accomplish that with the analytics view or another tool?
I don't know, we got it, but I did them for a while, and then I went back to them, so as far as remember that, I'd have to go look at my work. We did some of the report, but it'd be nice to have what she's saying is what we do during the demo for your stakeholders and everybody that's involved, the business people, they like to see real time.
Or even outside of a demo, when they just want to go look at how things are doing, it's right there on the dashboard.
That's what we were trying to do, right? We're trying to develop a dashboard so that that our stakeholders have read-only. And we have a number of stakeholders that are at work, so of course everybody's a priority, right? And so I'm at a glitch, and so what we decided to do is we did do a query, and we exported the query, and then we sent it out. But it'd really just be nice to do something in real time in the dashboard.
Have you?
Let's actually look at that question.
Okay.
Let's contact you.
Yeah.
We can
Sounds good.
follow
You
up.
can do it at a previous place. I wasn't the one who did it, but we had burn down charts served up by Azure DevOps, so it is possible. I'm just not the person who wrote the queries or the views for them. So it is possible. You're not wasting your time there.
Have you taken a look at YouTube? Have you watched anybody do it?
I'm gonna do that tomorrow. I don't have any meetings. Got a full day. I can play with it tomorrow.
Yeah, some of these Microsoft.
They don't say that too loud or they'll scare you.
YouTube, not TikTok. Yeah.
Some of these Microsoft wikis can be pretty dense and not very, like maybe too literal, not very imaginary, where you can actually see what they're talking about, while you're thinking. But YouTube, I'm sure, has somebody doing it very well. So that's where I would point you.
If I figure it out, I'll let everybody know.
The chat.
I will.
Oh, don't use your own account. You get fired for looking up your own account. Got friends.
I had a question.
Yeah.
You actually answered my first question, which is, what is your favorite tool? I agree. I second that. The code review is great in Azure. So, but this is just an easy question. Isn't it true that they're changing their name soon?
Oh, I'm just gonna Google that because I have not heard.
One of the meetups.
I don't know, they changed their name to Azure DevOps 5 or 6 years ago.
Something, one of the major platforms.
So
Exactly.
Microsoft, Azure AD changed their name
Yeah.
to Azure Contra.
Oh, so never mind. I confused it with AD. It's changes their name, not DevOps.
It's the AD name that they've had for the last 2 decades. It's good enough.
It's funny that you mentioned that.
It was too easy to find when you were looking for it.
The rationale makes sense if it didn't have 2 decades of history. I think that was the...
Yes.
When I Googled his question, that's the exact answer they gave me, was that Azure AD is changing their name. And yeah, I don't know exactly what it is.
I looked at the Azure AD name change and I'm like, that is silly, why would you change that? I felt the same way when they changed Azure, that TS Online to Azure DevOps. 6 years they want to use
Azure's going to support Azure platform next, and they don't want people to be searching Azure ad.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
that could, well, they're really pushing Bing and, Google, take on Google, and so maybe they do have ad play in there, so maybe there's Azure
Microsoft spent
ad.
a ton of money to hire a consulting firm and said, I changed that. McKinsey, I'm sure.
It wouldn't surprise me if that was voted me.
They said you also need to do 20% layoffs. You hire stuff.
And then you look at savings for a stock buyback.
I saw another article that somebody posted on Twitter,
you can never tell if it's accurate enough or not, but he claimed to be a Microsoft employee, and he was saying that one of the motivating reasons behind Microsoft's layoffs was because Satya got a demo of GPT-4, and he was like, this is going to replace a lot of development time to developers. I don't agree. I've used the chatbots and tools like that to get the Copilot and stuff, and I think they make it more productive to use it. I don't know of any company that has, we have so little development work to do that we can, I think most reasons that, yes, let's make it more productive, so terms reward this work.
It's like saying mentors should remove all bugs.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I find it very interesting to use ChatGPT to do development. Like how quickly you can make a full back-end to front-end system. Granted, untested, unsecure, like who knows what sort of vulnerabilities are laying within it, or maybe even how accurate all the code was when it was made, but being able to go front-end to back-end, and like if you have the idea and you know the tools that you want ChatGPT to use to make it, you can make a whole system in literally like 20 minutes, maybe less, like maybe 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, like it is incredible. So,
Whose code is it stealing to build that?
What do you say?
I said, whose code is it stealing to build that?
It's harder to be
Well, that's the other part of the problem, is it's trained off the data from the internet.
Yeah, wait, so I know with
That's why my work is not allowing you to use ChatGPT, because they don't want our code going out there on the cloud.
It's basically applying cover that at the end of the day is return you a statistically average result. What is the most likely to turn out the best?
Yeah.
this is so I know with GitHub, Microsoft, they said that Copilot can be trained in private repos. I guess they answered our question, but they haven't explicitly said that they won't train in private repos. But does that apply to enterprise customers? Because I know the backend for GitHub now, a lot of it is DevOps, and the regulations don't say that. GitHub Actions is Azure DevOps. So are your repos also susceptible to
Depends on your agreement. So Matt, unfortunately, Matt left early. He'd be a great one to talk about this because he's been dealing with this at Kiewit. We have GitHub Copilot and have several developers using it. Our license agreement says that they're not allowed to train it against our repositories. However, the Copilot X, the new version that includes the chat and a few other features, because it is in pre-release, we don't have a special agreement with them. The agreement states that they can train it, so we actually have those features turned off and just use the basic Copilot right now.
But does it apply to all the repos in Azure DevOps?
Our main concern was, is it being trained against our data? We didn't want it to be trained against our data at this time, even for our companies.
Pretty sure they claim that it's only on public repos, so if you've got a DevOps public,
They're maybe like really.
but I think DevOps.
Their language, and our legal department did not like their language.
Yeah, they did like explicitly say we won't train it. They just say explicitly who they will train or like what they will train on. They don't say like we'll never train private repos. That's like no human. Something like that.
And I mean, that's a whole concern around the generative AI is that probably you have to work its way out somehow. Like, I mean, if it generates a picture, but it clearly looks like a picture that was done in this artist's style because it's trained on that artist's style, where's the real ownership?
I mean, they had somewhere, like it had the artist still, their signature still in like a corner of a painting or something.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, obviously the technology is hot enough right now around it that it's still driving forward regardless of those concerns. But at some point, you know there's going to be a lawsuit that'll work its way out. Yeah. So,
People are trying to sue GPT, the parent company.
yeah. So, yeah, it's an interesting field though.
get some pizza before we close the meeting out. So thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you. All right, so next meeting at end of October, down to just 2 meetings. We're already